All right, my friends, it's time for a little PSA situation. I have taken some time to collect my thoughts here based on what happened yesterday. I was almost scammed, a very good scam, very, very good scam. And so I want to share what happened, what my action steps are going to be. I think I figured out a terrific way to deter scammers and to protect myself. So I'm going to share with you. This is something that you can do. And I really want people to share this video because there's a lot of phone scams going on. And this one is one of the best ones I've seen yet. And they're just going to keep getting better. And this is where the bad guys using things like AI and stuff like that can really start to hurt. So here's what happened. I'm going to tell you the story first, and then I'm going to tell you the action steps along with screenshots of exactly what to do with your phone when you get a phone call and you become suspicious of it that will get scammers to skedaddle. Okay. This is probably the best thing to do. And then I have a couple other tips as well for staying safe in these times where fraudsters are everywhere. Okay, what you're looking at here is a screenshot of my phone. I took a screenshot of this because obviously I wanted to capture this when I called US Bank to report the situation. But basically what happened was I've been meaning to get to a US Bank branch to talk about a specific banking situation, banking product. I hadn't done it yet because it wasn't an urgent situation. And I'm driving my car and I've got like 20 minutes left in the drive. And I see a call coming from US Bank branch. Now, the US Bank branch does call me. It's pretty rare. Usually it's, a manager or something saying, hey, what do you want to do with this or that? And so it does happen. And this is exactly what it looks like. Okay, when they call, it says US Bank branch. The first red flag for me was, though, that I didn't recognize the area code. And I always do. It's always from a local area code. And so when I saw the 218, I thought, that's weird. Why is someone calling me from this branch? Who knows? Maybe they've, got a call center and they're doing calls from one of the branches. I just kind of said, okay. But that's how the caller ID looked, what you're seeing on the screen right there, which is exactly what it looks like when they call me, except the phone number is a local number. So that was the first red flag. The guy, I answered the phone. He says, hey, this is, I can't remember his name. And he spoke perfect English, clearly American. And he said, we have some potentially unauthorized transactions on your account. And this is what I've always been afraid of with fraudsters is that they pretend like they're the good guys. They pretend like they're helping you prevent fraud because they know that's how they're going to get your attention. And that's exactly what this was. Hey, we see a transaction here that's suspicious on eBay. Did you make a purchase on eBay for $300? So the second suspicious thing was that he said $300 exactly. And that seemed weird. And then he also said, I also see a $93.27 transaction from Amazon. Now I had just purchased something from Amazon the day before that I thought was like $87 or so. And sometimes the shipping or whatever. So that seemed legit to me. And I was like, okay, the Amazon could be legit, but the eBay definitely wasn't me. So the first thing he asked was, okay, can you just confirm your last four of your social, which I gave him. And that was the only thing I gave him that I wish I hadn't. But that's a very common thing for them to ask for is last four social. I gave him last four social. He says, okay, give me a second here. And he said, do you recognize the name Amy Adams? I said, no, I don't. Okay. It looks like that's who's trying to use your card. Give me a second here. I'm going to have a manager, report this as fraud. And he comes back on the phone. And this is when, I became even more suspicious. I said, okay, my general manager, seems weird for a general manager to be involved at this point. My general manager has reported that transaction as fraud to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, I'm not a law enforcement officer, but I know the FBI isn't messing with a $300 fraudulent transaction. It's not even a felony. So a transaction that small is not getting reported to the FBI. And so that was when I kind of went, okay, this seems off now. And he said, okay, we're gonna order you new cards. We're gonna cancel these cards out. I'm gonna order you new cards. And I asked him also, I said, which account is it? And he kind of froze for a second. Then he said, business account. And I was like, okay, business account, weird. All right. And so it seemed like they may have been trained to say business account. If I'm asking which account, then it probably means I have a business account. So he said the business account. All right. Yeah, definitely nothing on eBay from the business account. So I'm suspicious, but I'm still trying to figure it out. And then he asked me he said, okay, for security purposes, can you verify your email? Just for verification purposes, actually, what he said, not security. But he said, for verification purposes, can you let me know your email that you use with the bank? So I gave him the wrong email. Now it was an old email that I have, not my correct email with the bank. And I knew it wasn't the correct email. So I gave him that. And he just went along. He never said, okay, that's correct, or anything. He just said, okay. Now for verification purposes, we need your username. And so that's when I was like, all right, dang, wow. Okay, people are going to fall for this. For sure, people are going to fall for this. But I knew at that point, all right, they're never calling and asking for my username. And most of your banks will send text verifications to you or send an email verification to you. They won't just call you. So that's one thing I want to make sure. I've been researching this a lot in the last 16 hours. And so, they're not going to do it that way. They're not going to just call you and say, hey, there's a problem. They're going to send you text. They're going to send you email. They're going to do a lot of things to make it clear it's them. They really got me with this caller ID though. And here's the thing that's crazy. So he says, all right, username. I said, no, I don't know what my username is. He's like, you don't know what your username is? I was like, nope, it's saved in my computer. He's like, okay, well, we'll wait till you get to your computer and then you can provide it. And we'll get this verification done for you. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be at my computer anytime soon. So he's like, oh, well, can you pull over real quick and just, figure it out on your phone maybe? And I was like, nope, not going to be doing that. And he's like, so you don't have any way to access your number? I said, nope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call you guys back later. And as soon as I said that, boom, they hung up. So the big question for me was, how did they get this caller ID? Because when you look this up, if you look up this phone number, you will see it is a actual U.S. bank office in, you guessed it, Minnesota. That's right. And when I actually called U.S. Bank and told them, explained to them what happened to me here, they said, yeah, that's actually an office. And that's how the caller ID showed up. So it's clear that these scammers have figured out how to manipulate the caller ID. So you can't even trust the caller ID, folks. Can't even trust the caller ID anymore. Now, I feel like I got a little bit lucky because I was in a position where this caller ID was the main thing that made me believe that the caller was legitimate. It's the only reason I answered, because I get calls from the U.S. Bank branch and it looks very similar to this, except for the number. That's what kind of led me down this path. Now, what they are looking for, these scammers, if you show any signs that you're onto them, they get out of Dodge. And that's why I've come up with, or what I figured out here is going to be my strategy. I've shared this with people that I know already. I want to share it with you, and I want you to share it with everyone else. If you have an iPhone, I don't know if you can do this with Samsung or not, but if you have an iPhone, there is a built-in feature that allows you to record the phone calls. Okay. It's really, really cool how it works. I'm going to show you here step by step how this works. Okay. So step one here. Step one is when you're on the call, so someone calls you or you call them, you'll see this button here in the bottom left that says more, 3 dots on it. I think for some models it's 4 dots, but it's down here in the bottom left. Okay. That is the button that you click on first. So while you're on the call, from now on, when I get these calls, and I've practiced already with a couple spam calls and it works. Okay, it works. They don't want to know that they're being recorded, all right? If you get a spam likely call, test it out and you can see. Just don't give them any information. Don't tell them your name. Don't confirm anything. But you can test it out with them. Click the more button right there, okay? And while you're clicking this, you say, so someone calls and they say, is this Derek? And you go, I'm sorry, who is this? And then they say, hey, this is James with U.S. Bank. You go, okay, James, I don't know this phone number and I don't know who you are, so I'm going to be recording this call. Give me just a second. That's what you say, okay? And that most likely, as soon as you say that, they're hanging up, okay? But if not, maybe they don't hear you or maybe they think you're BSing, all right? Step 2, after you push that button, you're going to see this. Now, inside of here, you can see there's actually a lot of really cool options I didn't know about that you could do with your call. You can do live translations. You can do hold assist, which is like if you're on hold, you can click hold assist and it'll like just get rid of that. It'll get it out of your face and then it'll notify you when someone picks up. And you can do screen sharing and some other things too. But call recording right here, boom. And not only is it going to record the call and automatically put it in your notes, but it can summarize, transcribe, all kinds of things. Really, really cool. So you click that button. Now, once you click that button to record the call, step 3, it's going to give you a countdown. So at this point, it's going to say this right here in the middle of the phone. This call will be recorded is what it's going to say. And it says right here, audio prompt will play in, and it goes 3, 2, 1. So after you push that button, it's about 3 seconds before it actually says the words, And what's really cool about it is it says it for everybody. So it says this out loud on both sides of the phone. This call will be recorded really clearly right at that time. Now, if anyone is still on the line by the time that gets said, they're gone. And that's why I think you can use now. If it's a legitimate call, if it's really your banker calling you, they're not going to hang up. They're going to be like, okay, because you're a customer of theirs. You have the right to record the call. They're recording the call, most likely on their end too. So if the call is legitimate, they're not going to be okay with being recorded. Or sorry, they're going to be okay with being recorded. If the call is illegitimate, they will not be okay with being recorded. The last thing they want is their voice on there, right? So this is a very quick litmus test. Now, if someone doesn't balk at the fact that you're recording them, that doesn't necessarily 100% mean it's not a scam. You should still take precautions. So I have more tips on this. Never give any information over the phone, though, especially if it's to a number you don't know or recognize. Never give any information away. What you want to do is, well, I'll tell you in a second. Hold on, let me finish this. So one more step. So this says this call will be recorded. And then step 5, right here. This is what happens while it's recording. Okay. And so you have this button here where that you can push to stop it at any point in time. You can click up here to take notes on the call if you need to. So you can use this for a lot of practical things, but I think it's going to be really, really, really effective. It sort of has been for me so far with spammers. And I've only been able to use it a few times, but they blew my phone up. So I got psycho dialed by spam likely numbers all yesterday evening. So they have me on a list. They're like, hey, this guy is susceptible a little bit. At least he's answered some of our questions. And I got followed up with hard, and it was all about account fraud. And now there's someone's unauthorized transactions, the messages they were leaving me, all this stuff. So when I answered the phone, though, and used this system, which I did on both of the numbers that were calling me, they immediately hung up as soon as I said I was going to record the call. So I don't think you'll even actually need to record the call. But in case they think you're bluffing, when they hear this call will be recorded, they're going to be out of there. Okay. So now what we really need to do is I wanted to, first of all, just make sure that everyone was aware that it's even possible for them to manipulate the, where is it here? I don't know. I lost it, but they manipulate the caller ID. That's a big problem. Okay. Because they can make that say, if they can make it say anything, they can make it say, Internal Revenue Service, or, something that's going to make you go, oh no, I need to talk to these people. I need to answer this phone or whatever. But set up the call recording. Okay. Now here's what you do. What worked for me on the live call was when I said, I'm going to call you back. All right. So what number can we trust? If you're getting a call and they're saying, hey, this is your credit card company, the number that you can trust is the number on the back of the credit card. So if you're like, hey, you're recording the call, and let's say they allow you to record it, but it still seems suspicious, to say, you know what? I'm actually going to have to call you back. Sorry, I can't do this right now. I'm going to have to call you back. And then just call the number on the back of the card. It may not be the right number to reach for fraud, although they'll probably have a prompt for it. But at least you're for sure calling the right number and talking to the right people. So call the number on the back of your card. That's my additional tip. That's tip number 2. And then tip number 3 is for how you manage day-to-day transactions. I would recommend that you do not use debit for anything. Don't use your debit card at all. Use credit cards. Okay. Use your credit cards. You need to use them anyway for your credit score. So use your credit cards, pay them off right away if you want to. But use your credit cards, because when you use your debit card and someone gets through on a debit transaction, the money's out of your account. It's gone. When someone gets your credit card and they put a fraudulent transaction on that, you haven't spent the money yet. The credit card company has sent the money and they're expecting you to pay them back, but you haven't actually sent any money yet, right? And you can dispute it. And then it's up to the credit card company to get their own money back. See what I mean? So use a credit card, not a debit card. And then what you do with your credit card is log into your credit card account and set up alerts for every single transaction that happens for you to get a text message. Some of the cards that I have, I had to set it up. It made me put an amount, like set alert for a certain amount on transactions. I just put it for 1 penny. So literally every single transaction, that I get a text, boom, you just got charged this much from this place. Because I think we have to track this stuff in real time. Look, it's too hard for us to wait until statements come in the mail and then go or in the email and go through each one and remember what we were doing on those days. But in real time, as it's being run, you'll know, hey, I'm not there. I didn't do that. Or I didn't order Uber Eats right now. We did last night, but I didn't right now. Well, you wouldn't realize that 2 weeks from now. You'd be like, oh yeah, we did order Uber Eats. So you want to get it in real time. So set your alerts. No debit cards, only use credit cards. Set your alerts for every single transaction so that you can see it happening in real time, and you can therefore make sure that you're protected as much as possible. So record the calls, even if you think it's legit. Like I thought that call was legit because the caller ID. Even if you think it's legit, just say, hey, I don't know who you are, and I don't recognize this number, so I'm going to be recording this call. Give me 1 second. Or you can just not answer, but if you think it might be a legitimate call and you want to answer or think you need to answer, go ahead, but do this so we can filter out a bunch of scammers. Don't give any information. Don't give any information on your social. Don't give any information on anything. If it seems like there might be a legitimate issue, call the number on the back of the card and route it that way. Don't just take the incoming call and assume that it's legit, even if they have information about you or have information that sounds like it's legitimate. Say, okay, this sounds like a real problem. I'm going to call you guys back later. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. And then you call the number on the back of the card. That way, you're talking to the right people. These are the things that I think, these are all the things I can think of, that I would recommend right now that I'm going to personally be doing to try to protect myself. As the scammers get better and better and better, which they seem to be doing, we have to be more and more vigilant. And they're going to get a lot of people with this one, man. That's the thing that bums me out. And I called US Bank. I gave them all the information. Hopefully they can somehow get around and get in front of it. But they're going to get a lot of people with this one. It was a really, really good one. So be careful out there. Hope this helps. If you don't have an iPhone, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm sure that Android has some sort of similar thing. Look it up, ask ChatGPT or whatever, figure it out, do this, and then follow the other 2 tips as well. Call back the number on the back of your card, only use credit cards, and set your alerts on those credit cards so you get a text message every single time that you spend money. Hope that helps, my friends. And hopefully I won't have another message like this soon. But if anything happens, I have no problem, admitting and making myself look like a fool, even if it's going to help other people. So good day and God bless.